How you doing, folks? Marty here. 2 videos in one day. Had to try to get this done. Going to the metal and beer festival put on by Decibel. Setting up a merch table. Byron Recordings, Iowa's Recordings will be there, as well as Nordvis stock will also be there. Stop by the table, say hello, buy us a beer. Very important. It'll be good to see you. Before I get going on this video, what is playing in the background is Dark and Holds. I can't see it because I'm blind. Castellum. Very good blackish castle metal from France. Excellent stuff if you like Obsequii and bands like that. Definitely check these guys out. Dark and Hold. So this video, this has been on my mind for quite a while to do this. In fact, this might end up being a series of videos that I do. Having been collecting music for a long time and being in the metal press for quite a while, off and on, one thing the metal press does quite effectively is generate hype. It's done so. Hype is generated whether people really like this stuff or not. I can see how a lot of the things I've pulled people do enjoy. But there is a hype machine behind a lot of these releases. Many of which I think are greatly overrated. So yes, this could very well become a series in the future. If I decide to stick with it or not. I'm sure I'm not going to make a whole lot of friends with this list of stuff, but whatever. Anyway, this is a stack of albums by bands that I more or less like. Some I don't like, but I find a lot of this shit has been grossly overrated and blown out of proportion over the years. Some of which are classics, but let's just get right on this. Album number 1 that is overrated, and wrongly overrated. Massacre From Beyond. This is Cam Lee, who was part of Mantis back in the day, which is a pre-death band. And of course it's got Terry Butler, Rick Ross, and Bill Andrews, which ended up being the backing band for Chuck in Death on the Spiritual Healing lineup. Spiritual Healing? Part of it, yes. Also Leprosy. This band always got a lot of hype. And when I got this, I guess I didn't mind it. But it has not aged well. It's just really weird processed guitar tone. The songs are really boring. The vocals... This just seems like a lower tier death metal band to me that got a shit ton of a lot of praise just for the fact of who the members are in this band. Maybe, I mean, I'm sure a lot of you people I still see people showing reissues of this on vinyl and saying how great it is. And man, it's just boring stuff. Speaking of boring, we're gonna move to England. I have mentioned these guys before, but Cancer this is Death Shall Rise. I've also heard To the Gory End. I've used to have it on cassette from tape trading. Boring album. I never wanted to buy a copy. I've ran across original copies over the years, and I let it sit just for the fact that I know I'll never listen to it. And as I mentioned in a video earlier, I was listening to this in the background actually. I revisit Death Shall Rise every year or so just to see if my thoughts have changed on it, and it's never the case. It's just, even with James Murphy in this band, he was the gun for hire back in the early 90s. The material is just largely slow and uninteresting and evenly paced. Death metal, you know, for original death metal, it's probably just fine, but there's so many better bands out there worth investigating other than this stuff. You know, Ben, I'm sorry, but yikes, this shit is boring. And moving on to one of my favorite bands. Here is an album that still gets a ton of praise. And to me, it signifies Creator on their downswing. This is Coma Souls by Creator. Probably the band's biggest It's on Epic Records. I mean, it's the second album they did for Epic and Noise. The Noise Epic Union. It's probably their most popular album, just for the fact that they're really getting a good push by a huge label. And to me, Frank Blackfire's addition to the fold, just really, Frank Blackfire from Sodom joined the band at this point. It just seems really like a very tired creator, like they've been beaten up. There's some good songs on here. The album isn't largely awful. It's just not Extreme Aggression. I mean, to me, Extreme Aggression is probably my favorite Creator album, even though I do love the early stuff. Extreme Aggression is one of those albums I've listened to 10 million times, and I see it as a perfect album. And then for them to follow up with this, it just seemed like the material was them trying to maintain the level of intensity and just not having the ideas behind it. It's like they tried to turn out the album too quickly. When the Sun Burns Red, People of the Lie, all okay. They're okay songs. I mean, the song I think I like the most on here is World Beyond, which they tried to sound a little more older Creator, but it's just really simplistic, simple song structures. Not Creator's best, and a lot of people say this is their favorite. You know, maybe it's just the fact that they jumped on the band at this point in their career. You know, the first album you hear is the one you tend to gravitate towards. I don't know. Coma Souls has always been a letdown for me. I was very disappointed when this came out. Even though I still liked it, I didn't love it, and I did not see why the buzz around the band was still so at a high point at this point in their career. Definitely a band getting tired and on a downward slant. Another one. Another band, you know, legendary status. Trying to delve further into an American, growing American death metal market, and that would be Napalm Death, Harmony Corruption. Yes, this is recorded at Morrisound Studios by Scott Burns, which it shouldn't have been a bad thing, but I don't know what the fuck Scott Burns did to this thing, but it sounds muddy and terrible. I mean, I am not one of those people that hates a Scott Burns production or hates Scott Burns. You know, he's recorded the Deicide stuff, Cannibal, you know, Sepultura, all the early awesome death metal stuff. Has a great production, but this album comes along and it sounds like he recorded on the inside of a wet sweat sock. It sounds like shit, and it really detracts away from the fact that there's some good songs on here. There are, I mean, but the production is so muddy. And Barney's vocals, I'm sorry, I've never been a huge Benediction fan. I do like Transcend the Rubicon. That's the only one I physically own, because it's good. But Barney came from Benediction, and he does not have as good a vocal range as Lee Dorian did. I mean, I think Barney has really come into his own on newer Napalm stuff. He sounds great. And even the albums that came after this album are a lot better. But this album to me just seemed like a band in transition, trying to find themselves with a, you know, expanded lineup with American dudes in it. And it's very average, and this got a shit ton of press back in the day. Very average album. Another one. This is going to get me a lot of fucking grief, I'm sure. The next... probably the rest of this is going to get me a lot of grief, but that's alright. You know, we're doing this for discussion, and there is no accounting for taste, is there? But Carcass, Heartwork, man, I mean, I remember when this came out, I like it. I mean, this is a good album. I like it. I've listened to it. When it came out, I was excited about it because it was a new Carcass album. But once the newness of that Carcass album wore off and I could focus on what this really was, this is a humongous departure from, you know, I'm not even a Rika Putrefaction fan. I mean, I think that album has its place, but it's just a snarled, shitty, grindcore mess. But Symphonies of Sickness and Necroticism, Descanting Insalubrious, both of those albums are, in my opinion, some of the best death grind ever made. Amazing songwriting, really sharp, clear sound. They could be dark and dirty and heinous, and still write songs with meaning. Heartwork takes that and evolves into a slick, produced, melodic death metal band. I mean, at this point, Heartwork, I think Carcass evolved in style out of their namesake. I mean, I listen to this, I hear At the Gates, I hear, the slick Swedish melodic death metal movement seeping into this. Maybe Michael Amott had something to do with that. I don't know. Ultimately, it doesn't matter. There's some good songwriting on here. There's some great guitar work. But if you're going to be called Carcass, you better sound like something that just crawled out of the blood bucket and not some slick produced, I don't know, intelligent and even blatantly melodic, riff-tastic all the way through. 5Ks. Classic. That is a Kerrang! Magazine review. I don't know, man. I know a lot of people love this album, and there's some good shit on here, and I do like this album, but do I think it warrants all of the praise? No, because this is definitely the beginning of the end for Carcass, as far as I'm concerned. Moving on, another big band that received a shit ton of praise for this album. Maybe it's rightfully so. Maybe this is just a matter of taste thing, but Emperor's 9 Equilibrium. This, along with Heartwork, I mean, this is the beginning of the end for this band for me. And I can appreciate a band wanting to progress, especially with a man as talented as Isan at the helm. I don't think Samuth really had much to do with this album, as he was in jail for a while. Maybe he was out by this point, I don't know, but this is a very progressive and slick album, and there's some good shit on it. Again, there's some stuff I like on all of these albums, but the praise that they have all earned over the years it just seems very strange to me. I mean, people seem to really praise a band more when they start making more of a commercial turn in their sound, and this is Emperor embracing more of a commercial sound. I mean, Prometheus is by no means a commercial album, but it is a very prog-tastic album. A lot of wankery, and I think it's unnecessary. I don't think any of these guys need to show off their skills. I think we're all very aware of their talent. Bands need to show it off in such a pretentious way, especially on like 9 Equilibrium. Unnecessary. Moving on, this band. People rant and rave about this band. Watain. Yes, I've got some Watain albums. I more or less have everything they've done except for the new shit, because this stuff was either sent in as promos back in the day, or I bought this album, Lawless Darkness, for the fact that Carl McCoy from Fields of the Nephilim made a vocal appearance on it, which to my ultimate chagrin was just like 3 words in Waters of Ain. Waste of money. But to me, Watain is a good band, but they are not as good as the band that they're trying to emulate, which is Dissection. I mean, the first 2 Dissection albums, Somberlane and Storm of the Lightsbane, try all you might, Watain is not Dissection. They are in a similar class as Dissection, and I think they're good at what they do, although I think the songwriting is a little boring. To me, I think the pull and drive of this band is their marketing, their aesthetic, their visual aesthetic. They go out, they cover themselves in blood. We never wash. We stink like death. We've had impetigo. We've had this. We've had that. Because we're so, these guys might be totally into what they're talking, but I think the freak show aspect of it is what draws people to this band. Yes, the music's okay. It's good. It's decent black metal. But I would just as soon listen to Dissection. And these guys want to cover themselves with shit and blood and drive around the US or Europe not taking a bath. It's really fucking dumb. I mean, whatever. I don't care what you believe in. If that's what it takes to sell your material, you're doing something wrong, as far as I'm concerned. Here's another band I'm probably going to catch a ton of shit over. And again, for the most part, I don't think Leviathan is a bad band. It's Jeff. You know, I think he is rhythmically he's a fantastic drummer. I think his songs compositions are a little hard to listen to. I've got most of his releases in one form or another, and some of the demos. And I've always thought it was good. I always appreciated the time and effort and the passion that has gone into all these releases, and the artistic slant. You know, obviously this art box, all the prints and shit. It's all impressive. He's a very talented man. The songs themselves, though, they don't. I listen to it and I'm fine with it. I don't ever really find myself coming back for repeated listens. I don't know if it's just due to the harshness. There's something very alien about the writing in this, and I'm not saying that is a bad thing. It's a good thing. He has his own style, but you know, what is it that has made everybody flock to Leviathan? I mean, what is it? Was it the mystery surrounding it at the beginning? They just latched on, and I don't know. But you know, more power to Jeff. You know, good for you, man. You've gone out. You made a name for yourself, which is awesome. And I'll probably, you know, anything new from here on out, I will check out and probably like. I mean, I like aspects of this album. Do I think it's really consistent and focused? No, I don't. Rhythmically interesting? Yes. I mean, most of his shit is very rhythmically interesting because he's coming at it from a drummer's point of view. But Leviathan is one of those bands that I just find to be overrated. Good, but overrated. Another band. Man, I wanted to like this one, but it just isn't there. Iron Maiden, The Final Frontier. The band came back, put out this album, and you would have think it was their best thing since Number of the Beast, for all the good press it got. I mean, I read countless reviews where people were praising this album to the hilt. And this is an album that's long, it's boring, it's mid-paced. Nico McBrain plays the same drum fill over and over and over and over again. Really, to me, this is Iron Maiden. It's impressive that they're still at their age pounding out material that people like, and they deserve to keep going. They're a great band. At the core, they are a great band, great songwriters. But this album is really tired sounding, really boring. And even the album after, The Book of Souls. I liked it initially. I think it's way better than The Final Frontier. But did it need to be 2 CDs? No, it's too long. The production's too strange. The songs are all the same pace. The piss and vinegar that used to emit from this band is, you know, slowly passing with age, I think. Again, it's Iron Maiden. I'm always going to check it out. I'm probably going to buy it. I bought this knowing I didn't like it. I listened to it a bunch before I bought it. I just bought it for a placeholder, basically. But this is a very overrated album by a great band. And I mean, I liked Dance of Death. I liked Brave New World was fantastic. Dance of Death. All those albums, A Matter of Life and Death. I like that album too. It's long, but really good. This is just tired Maiden. And the last, and probably the least popular opinion I'm going to probably get a bunch of shit out of this one. Entombed, Clandestine. What? You don't like Clandestine? Man, I like some songs on here, but the songs wander. The songs sound forced. The production of these songs, the guitar tone is crap. Nicky Anderson, there's a guy, Johnny so-and-so, that was labeled as the vocalist on here, but he didn't. Nicky Anderson did the vocals, and didn't like his vocals. You know, the shouted hardcore style. I missed Petrov. I missed his vocals, his deep death growl. You know, the song Crawl was on the Crawl EP. Better production, and the dude from Nirvana 2002 sang. That was great. So yes, there are some good songs on here, but Sinners Bleed, Living Dead, Blessed Be, shit just wanders, man. It lost the focus found on Left Hand Path. Left Hand Path was filled with massive riffs, a tone that would just fucking render you senseless. but the songwriting was top-notch, super memorable, very powerful. This here, there's way too many riffs crammed into these songs that wander around. The structures are lost. They sound like a band forcing, they're on a bigger label, this is Earache's union with Relativity Records. They're on a bigger label, they had to produce something quickly. It sounded like there was a lot of infighting in the band. This album sounds very forced. Got a pound out product. I mean, I liked Wolverine Blues better than this album, which, you know, that was just a more focused album. Drive, Ride, Shoot Straight, Speak the Truth. I like that album too. You know, yeah, it was death and roll, but it was well written and catchy. This is just, I put it on and I listened to it just for the, it is respect to the time and what this band and album had done, you know, in terms of death metal. But there's very many times I'm spinning this and I'm thinking about turning it off just because I'm bored. But anyway, there's 10-ish or so albums or bands that I feel are overrated. I mean, obviously you're gonna have comments on this. Let's chat about it. Drop a comment. Give me a thumbs down. Fucking idiot. Thumbs down, idiot. I could take it. I'm a big boy. But let's talk about it. This is probably the first of many installments to come, because isn't it always more fun pointing out things we don't like? No? Oh well. Maybe it's just me. Talk to you guys later.